Hey, everybody. We're live right now. Just getting started. We're about to get started. Very happy for you guys to be here. It'll just be a few minutes. We'll let in more people, and then we'll begin. Thank you for coming. All right, thank you for coming. We're just waiting a few minutes for more people to settle in, to come in, and we'll get started in a minute or two, maybe 5 minutes. Let me just say that I'm very happy that you guys are here, and we're going to learn a lot today. I'm very excited for this webinar. I tweaked it. I had already given a seminar similar to this one, but I tweaked. There's a few tweaks on this one that are more for aimed at people that are about to get started. But I'm just very happy that you're here, and and I think you're going to learn a lot. Just a few minutes more. We'll let in more people, and then we'll begin. Hey, thank you guys for coming in. I see new people joining. We're just waiting a few more minutes so that the room gets filled, and we'll start. Very happy that you guys are here. Very happy that you registered. This is going to be like I was saying. This is a new. I tweaked the previous webinar. So this one will have a little bit more of a kick. So very happy that you guys are here. Like I said, just a few more minutes so that more people join, and then we'll start. All right, we're 2 minutes past the start time. I see quite a few have already joined, so why don't we just get started? So let me turn on my camera. So hello, I'm Rolf. I'm coming to you from my office that I've always used for job stacking since the beginning. No fancy studio, no nothing. This is just the place where I work. As a matter of fact, I have a surprise for you later in the webinar related to work, related to my jobs. But for now, let's just get started. So this is Job Stacking 101. This is the second webinar, Job Stacking 101. And the theme of this one is the keys to doubling your income by working multiple jobs without getting caught or burning out. So I think those two are keys that a lot of people, or those are issues that a lot of people are kind of afraid of before they start job stacking. There will be a question and answer, a Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. So, if you have any questions, please hold off until then. We'll go through all your questions here live. So I'm coming to you here live, right? This is not pre-recorded. All right, so welcome introduction, just a few words. If you failed at job stacking in the past, I just want to say it's not necessarily your fault. If you've been concerned in the past that you can't succeed with job stacking or you don't even know how to start, I want you to put those fears to rest. And I do want you to know that it's kind of the entire employment system is kind of stacked against you. And micromanaging bosses, what I call low trust employers, or companies like Equifax, they do have it against you. They do want you to fail. So we're just here to show you how to leverage your already existing skills in your resume to reliably double your income without having to work more hours by applying the job stacking techniques. So let's get started. So my goal for this webinar is that I want to show you that you can reliably make more money. You're not going to burn out. You're not going to get caught. You're going to make more money working multiple jobs, right? So this is a little bit more specific, right? I do believe This is something I strongly believe, that the only way for you to, or for any employee to reliably make more money, just as an employee, is through job stacking. I'm not saying that job stacking is the only way to make more money, but is the only reliable way to make more money. And the best way to learn how to job stacking is from an expert, like myself. So who am I? I'm Rolf Haltza. I'm a software engineer. I have over 10 years of experience in IT. I first started or tried job stacking in 2018. I actually started job stacking in a hybrid capacity, not fully remote. And then when the pandemic hit in 2020, I went, I just, full gas on job stacking and having multiple jobs. My average has been 3 jobs per year. And I'm the author of the job stacking book, and I'm also the author, the developer of the job stacking course. My story, just briefly, even as a software engineer I wasn't 10 years of experience back in 2018, but with however many years of experience, I still found it hard to accomplish basic goals, like home ownership, having a good amount of savings in case of emergencies, right? Like it was, it wasn't like I was living paycheck to paycheck, but I did feel like I was being left behind. Like the basic goals were out of reach. And with the increase in the interest rates right now, I'm assuming that's even more the case for many right now. So I was just, in that situation, I was thinking, hey, what can I do to make more money? I even tried, what every software developer does. You come up with startup ideas. So I came up with 2 startup ideas. They all they both failed in the end because it's very hard to sustain that. So it's, like I said, there's many ways to try to make money, but most of them are very unreliable. Like you don't actually know if you're going to be making money. It's like a gamble. It's like a bet. So I was just thinking, like, hey, I get paid every month reliably, right, by my employer. What if I just got multiple paychecks, right, reliably each month? Like it's not a bet that will I get money now? Will I get money next month? No. It's like if you work for an employer, you get paid at the end of the month reliably. So I was like, that's what I got to do. I got to get one more of those paychecks. So that's when I had the idea of having multiple jobs and started basically. Tinkering with the idea. I started in 2018, hybrid. So I would go to the office with my laptop, my personal laptop, and I would try to work there. It kind of didn't work out. I was like I said, I was just experimenting, didn't really know what I was doing. But as time went on, I started perfecting my approach. I started realizing, what employers are actually looking for, what you actually need, and I just just found great success with what I was applying and what I was learning, and that's when I come up with the book and the course, just condensing down my experience, all the experiments that I was running, and right now I'm I'm comfortable, very comfortable with my income. Have really no worries, no stresses at the end of the month, or I was able to rack up a good amount of savings. I started because I wanted to own a home, but I haven't done it yet because a lot of business opportunities came up during the along the way, and I just invested in those. So real economy stuff like coffee, not a coffee shop, but like a coffee distributor. Even stuff like gold, heavy metals, not buying not buying like a boomer buying gold from a website, but companies that actually trade in gold, deal in gold, and other heavy metals, steel, that kind of stuff. So that's what I've been using my money, and of course my invested in my course. But I still do job stacking. Like I'm not out of the woods yet. Like I still do job stacking, and even though I do sell book and do sell my course, my income does not, my livelihood doesn't come from selling courses. I still do job stacking right now, and you're going to see that later, hopefully. Right now, I'm stacking 3 jobs. All right. So how does this apply to you? Well, you probably are in a similar situation that I was back then, where basic goals were not being met, kind of financial stress, right? Like what if something big happens, something, big happens, I don't have the money to respond. So you can do the same thing that I did, and like I said, that I still do. And here are some testimonials of people that have applied job stacking, the advice that I give, both in the book and in the course. So my favorite, this one is from Neil. He says that he's run 6 jobs at once for 8 months. He's right now running 3, and he says that stack jobs save your ass, right? So that's one of my favorite testimonials about job stacking. So now let's get into the subject matter. What we'll cover in this webinar. I'm going to cover 3 secrets. I call them secrets, but it's a way to look at it. The secret number 1 is why you won't burn out working multiple jobs. The secret number 2 is why you won't get caught working 2 or more jobs. This is especially true. Of 2 jobs, and I'll explain why later. But even more than 2, you won't get caught. And secret number 3 is that you don't need to be in tech to do job stacking. Job stacking works for basically all kinds, anything that can be, any work that can be done remotely. Job stacking works for that. All right. So secret number 1, why you won't burn out. This is some feedback that I've received, some concerns that people have told me, that they think that job stacking only works with easy jobs. Quote unquote easy jobs. Working 2 jobs means working 16 hours a day. That's something I get a lot. I'm sorry. Having multiple jobs is illegal or unethical. That's also very common. The illegal one, not so much. I get more the unethical. So let's just cover those. I'm sorry. Got a little bit of asthma. All right. So let's cover those. So a little bit of background here of why you won't burn out. It's because we're actually exploiting a feature in the nature of modern employment, right? You might be thinking we're going to look at that a little bit more in depth later. But for now, just understand that as employees, we get paid not necessarily to do our job, not necessarily to work, but to be available, right? So, like I said, we're gonna go deep into that later. But for now, this is the explanation. The reason why we can have multiple jobs is because, and we don't have to, 2 jobs doesn't mean you're going to be working 16 hours a day, is because there's lots of idle time in our jobs because of the nature of employment. So this is something that's baked in. It's not something that, unless employers, make a huge, reform to the way employment works right now, this is something that's baked in, it's built in. So there's nothing they can do about it. So we're just exploiting that inefficiency. So some case studies or examples, results. I've done it for years now. My peak was 7 jobs. So the most jobs I've had concurrently have been 7. The minimum I've had is 2, and the average is 3 since 2020. I personally think 3 jobs is the ideal, because you can have, one salary, one compensation goes towards, paying your expenses, living your life. The other one can go to cash savings, and the third one can go to investments, like buying crypto or something else like buying stocks. So anyway, John in Australia, he works in compliance. This is very important. He's not a software engineer. I've helped him, and he's handled 3 concurrent jobs since 2021, and he makes around 4.6K per week, right? So around 20K per month. And Raul in Mexico, he works in business administration, 4 jobs, making 5K a week in Mexico. So he's, you can double the amount of money just by cost of living that he has. All right, so some people, or you might also be thinking about, job stacking. You don't understand how job stacking will work with your schedule, or you don't see how it will be sustainable. You might have questions regarding taxes, or you probably think I don't know how this won't get me fired. So the truth is that, like I said, the nature of modern works allows us to have multiple jobs, and this is where I'll explain a little bit. Employers don't have a perfectly optimized pipeline to provide the exact amount of work to their employees that to take up the entire workday, right? So employers don't have almost no employer I can think of. I would even say no employer has the way they distribute work so optimized that each employee gets exactly 8 hours of work per day, and that's it, right? Like there's no peaks, there's no valleys, there's nothing. Like everybody's at capacity every day. Like that's impossible, right? Like we've all worked, we all have experience in the ebb and flow of work, right? Like sometimes there are peaks, sometimes there's a lot of activity, right? Like you're working more than 8 hours a day for a brief period of time, ideally. And there are some days that there's nothing to do. Well, there are some days that there's some stuff to do, but it clearly doesn't take 8 hours. So it's this inefficiency. It's this fact that employers just don't have a way to distribute work efficiently, or not efficiently. They don't have a way to distribute work so that it covers the full amount of work, full time, right? That we work. So there's lots of idle time. So they actually pay us. They're not paying us to perform our task, or that's not the full compensation. That's not the full story. We do get paid to work eventually, but what we're paid for is being available, so that when they actually get some work, like when there's actually some tasks that need to be done, right, in this inefficient pipeline that they have, there's actually people that can work them, right? And so they kind of like bite the bullet and pay for us to be idle. They don't like it. That's why busy work exists, and that's why they don't want you. They don't just let you go home when you say like, "Hey, I'm done. There's nothing else to do. Like I'm just gonna go home at 11." Right? Like that never happens. Now they don't like it, but they kind of do bite the bullet in that they understand that, hey, there's gonna be some idle time, and we gotta pay for it. So this is the inefficiency. This is the core inefficiency. And like I said, it's built in. Like they would have to completely reform employment, right, from the ground up. All employers get together and they just reform the system. It's not going to go away. Like this is something that's baked in. So this is what I mean by the nature of modern work allows us to have multiple jobs, because what we do is we take that idle time, those idle times that we have at our work, and we and we, instead of wasting our time, instead of watching YouTube or gaming, right, or watching Twitch, we have another job, right? So that when one employee has idle time, maybe the other doesn't, and so like you come in and you work that time, but you get paid for both. You get paid for you get paid for the hour in both employers, right? So you're doubling your income in that sense, right? Secret, and so this is another truth about the secret number one, is that about getting fired. You can get fired by your employer for any reason whatsoever at any point, especially in the United States. I don't know if all of you are from the United States. Most of my audience is American. In the United States, it's right to work, or I'm sorry, not right to work. At will employment is what I mean. That means that employers can just fire you willy-nilly whenever. So there's nothing special about job stacking that this will particularly get you fired. It's like, no, you can get fired at any point. And as a matter of fact, because of that, job stacking is necessary, because it's a defense mechanism against the whims of employers, right? Like if you have 3 jobs, if you have 2 jobs, if you get laid off from 1, if you get fired from even 2, you don't lose your income. You're not in a desperate situation. And lastly, job stacking is both legal and ethical. The legal part specifically for in the United States, most countries that I've seen don't have provisions against people working multiple jobs. It's usually not illegal, but you might want to check. Like if you're not in the United States, you might want to check your country's laws, talk to an attorney. But for the most part, from most of what I've seen, it's legal, but it's definitely ethical. Even if it's not legal, it's definitely ethical. And I'll explain why later. And this is like a little bit more, again, aimed at my American audience. The IRS doesn't care how many jobs you have. They're not looking at you. They're not going to see that, oh, this guy worked 2 jobs, so that's like we're going to put him in jail or something. No, they don't care. What they care is like you made X amount of money per year. You owe the IRS X amount in taxes. You pay that amount. They're happy. That's all they care about. So let's move on to secret number 2, why you won't get caught working 2 or more jobs, especially if you follow my system. So this is another set of let's say objections or things people, misconceptions, preconceived ideas about job stacking that many people think is that they'll get caught by their employer unless they execute perfectly, right? Like you have to be some kind of, I don't know, like you have to be Batman, you have to be some kind of super executor, super high performer to not get caught. The other one is that handling multiple concurrent meetings is hard if you're not highly disciplined. And I got a surprise for you that later in this webinar. But no, you don't have to be super disciplined. As a matter of fact, my approach is to make it easy so that, or easier on you, so that you don't have to be disciplined, so that you're covered by the measures that we put in place, so that you don't have to be kind of on the ball all the time. And the last thing is that they need to be extremely good at what they do to manage multiple jobs. And this is something that you'll also find online. There's lots of gatekeepers that want to say, like, hey, if you're not super efficient, if you're not very good at your job, you shouldn't try having multiple jobs. That's not true at all. Like, you don't have to you don't have to be super good at what you do to have multiple jobs. Because again, remember secret number one, the nature of modern employment. They're not paying you to perform; they're paying you to be available. And so the background of secret number two is everything's related. So you'll see some callbacks to secret number one, but the background here is that we get paid by the hour. We don't get paid by task completed. And this is also part of the nature of modern employment. This is what I said, like we don't get paid by the work we do because there's not enough work to be assigned for the full time, for the full 8 hours, for the full 40 hours a week that we have to do. So employers pay us by the hour. So this means that there's no reason to work more if you're just going to get paid the same. And so this is a key issue regarding performance, right? Like I also get, some people tell me like, I don't know how you guys do this. Like where do you get the easy jobs? And the thing is that you might be too invested in your current job and you're making it harder than it needs to be. Because what you need to do, the key is to concentrate on the floor of performance instead of the ceiling of performance, because you're going to always provide more to an employer and they'll take it. They're happy for you to give as much productivity for free to them as you can give them, right? Like they're not going to pay you more if you're more productive. So they're happy to just take and take and take. But the key is to figure out the floor, what they're happy with, the basis that they're happy with, or the lowest amount of productivity they're happy with, so that you don't get in trouble, and start providing that. And that alone makes your job easier, right? So a key is that to not be too invested in your job, right? And so how does this relate to not getting caught, right? Well, I'll get into that when we go to let's say the truth of the matter regarding this secret. I just want to substantiate my claim here about idle time, right? Like so there's plenty of statistics, plenty of studies. These are just two examples that show that even back in the office, even when we were back in the office, people were only productive for around half the day. So if you were thinking, that you're not capable, and this is related to performance, right? Like, oh, I'm just not good enough to handle, I'm not disciplined enough to handle 2 meetings at once, or I'm not good enough at my job to work multiple jobs, right? Like I just got to be closing. I just got to be a performer. I'm not organized or disciplined. Don't worry about it. So the truth is that, like I said, we already don't spend most of the workday doing actually work, doing actual work related tasks, right? And again, this is a callback to secret number one of why you don't burn out. And you don't need to be super efficient or productive to keep your employers happy. Just a minimum of productivity is enough, right? So it's about the balance of how do you figure this out. And the way you figure this out is by kind of like putting your foot off the gas and seeing what happens, right? Like you have to kind of run experiments with your current employer. If it's a new employer, right? Like if you're going from one job to two and this is a new employer, you kind of test how in the onboarding, you test how they behave, right? Like, are they constantly pushing you? Are they wanting to, you hit the ground running, right? Like you don't want to hit the ground running. You don't want to be at a place where you're expected to hit the ground running, right? So you want to have, you want to work for employers that are what I call high trust, low expectations, meaning that they trust their employees. They're not going to be on your case about it, everything all the time. They're not going to be micromanaging you, but their expectations are also low. Like they're not expecting great performance, top talent, top world talent, right, from their employees. So you want to aim for that when looking for new employers. I'm sorry, for new jobs. If it's about transforming your current job so that it's more compatible with job stacking, well, you got to run experiments. You got to, ease up, see what's happening. There are some non-negotiables. You don't want to miss meetings ever, right? Like, so that's a non-negotiable. Don't experiment by missing meetings and see how they react. Like, no, like 70% of all jobs is like showing the meetings on time. Okay. So see it in the way that, maybe a task that you used to, do to finish in one day, maybe it takes you now 2 days, and you see how they react. Like, and you see there's no problem, and then maybe you amped it up, and it's like, well, now I'm gonna, this that used to take 1 day, now I'm gonna take 3, and see how they react. Right? They'll usually won't care. They'll usually be like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, sure, 3 days, right? Like, so you gotta run those experiments. Okay, so this is how you figure out the minimum of what minimum productivity is enough. Right? Because when employers are not happy, they're going to let you. Good employers will let you know. So that's the other thing. It's like you don't need to sweat necessarily getting fired for doing this, for running these experiments, because any good employer, if they don't like your performance, if they think your performance is not acceptable now when it was back in the past, they're going to let you know. So this is about conflicts, right? So getting caught. How do we get caught? It's by basically having a conflict and not knowing how to manage it. And that reveals to one of the employers or both at the same time that we're job stacking, that we have multiple jobs. And so what most people fear are like conflicting meetings or overlapping meetings. And I just want to say that they're not that common, actually, especially with 2 jobs. The probability of just having 2 random calls happening at the same time it's like 0.4%. But if they do happen, we can manage them, and that's basically what the course teaches. And actually, in about 4 minutes, I'm about to have a work call, and I'm gonna show you that I'm gonna be still run this webinar, while I handle the call from work. So in around 3 minutes, that's going to happen. So I'm going to show you how to, it's easy to handle the conflicting or overlapping meetings. Again, I go deep into that subject in the course. So we'll see. 3 minutes, right? Let's just keep going. Background checks. All right. So this is another issue about getting caught. Like, people are concerned about background checks. And so there's 2 things. Number one, background checks themselves are not employment checks. So there's a difference between background checks and employment checks. Most employers don't pay for employment check. A background check just go over your credit history and your rent history, your residential history, that kind of stuff, that you don't have any criminal priors, criminal record, that sort of stuff. Most employers do not pay for employment verification services, or it's a lot more expensive. I also go how to handle background checks in the course, but here's something that is very useful for you to know right now, if you're just new to job stacking, is that background checks are not a factor at all if you're just going from 1 job to 2. Right. So background checks could, are kind of a concern, not really, but they're kind of a concern when you have more than 2 jobs, when you're going for more than 2 jobs, but they're absolutely not when you're going from 1 to 2. And the reason is that when you're going from 1 job to 2, it just, for the system, to the system, it just looks like you're just changing jobs. Like, there's nothing weird about what's happening, right? Like, you're just, you had 1 employer and you're looking to switch jobs. And that's what, there's no red flags. There's no possible red flags. They don't know your intentions. They don't know that, oh, I'm actually applying, going through this process in this other employer because I actually plan to keep both jobs. To the system, it's all, well, oh, this guy is changing jobs. Like that's all what's happening. So there's absolutely no risk getting caught with background checks or employment checks or any of the sort when you're just going from 1 job to 2, for the first time. again, like if you're going above that, I'm not saying necessarily to be concerned that it's a huge problem, but it's something that you just to keep in mind. Like I said, in the course, I offer techniques on how to minimize any risk with background checks and things like the work number and that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, so it's all in all, it's very difficult, it's very hard for an employer to catch you having multiple jobs if you follow the steps, if you follow the program, which is basically keep different job related stuff separated. You want different devices whenever possible, right? Like even stuff like different time zones. Like if you can manage that, I don't really pay attention to that. I don't really, it's kind of like a gift that if a job is if my jobs are in different time zones, so that the probability of conflict is even lower. But if you can manage that, if you can manage to land jobs in different time zones, that's good. Like the key is separation. Different devices, one device per each job. And again, the more you can keep them separated, the better for you. That way you don't have to, like I said, like you don't have to be super disciplined. Like you have implemented steps that you don't have to be on the ball all the time. And so now it's the time for the work for the work call. So I'm just gonna hold on. I'm gonna connect from my phone. Joining. All right. So as you can see here, I'm in a meeting, but it hasn't started yet. I'll just leave it here. Okay.
Hello. Good morning and good afternoon.
See, it already started.
Hi, how you doing, guys?
All right. So
hello.
What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put here. I'm just gonna use these headphones to listen to what they're saying. I'll just continue the webinar normally. All right, so secret number 3, and again, I'm still here. I don't show a clear picture to running the risk of doxing myself, but it doesn't matter. You don't need to be in tech to do job stacking. So this is also a key point. You just don't. It's also a myth that it only works for IT. It only software developers can do it. Like not at all. Any white collar job can work for job stacking. I'm kind of giving the game away a little bit, but this is just very straightforward. The key here is that there's nothing inherent in tech that makes it the only or best option for job stacking. The only advantage tech has over other fields is the availability of jobs in the market, and that's pretty much it. But there's nothing inherent in it. Any job that can be done from that is done from a computer can be job stacked. So this is our examples of fields that I've worked with people in: compliance, insurance, design, business, sales, accounting, data engineering, product management as well. It's not in the list, but it's a bit of work. Oh, see, I got to do my update. Hold on. Hello, guys. So I got together with Lexi yesterday. We were going over the bugs that I have assigned, but we found out that I don't have access to the back to the back end in the either in the QA or dev environment. I already told Gavin about it, but that's been kind of a blocker. Okay. All right, that's it. I gave my update. The meeting continues. I gave my update. That's it. That's how you handle conflicting meetings. You just catch your name. You try to catch your name being called. See what you kind of already know what the meeting's about, right? Like this is Scrum. This is Scrum, a daily Scrum stand-up. And so all you got to do is catch your name. Practice catching your name from the noise and provide the update, and that's it. Like this is I have shown you how to handle conflicts right now live. See, the meeting's still going. Some people are still talking. Hold on, I still got to talk. What? I'm not sure. I can still go through onboarding stuff. but I'm not 100% sure. Sure, I'll ask Gavin. Thank you. See, they called me again. All I had to do is provide some kind of answer. That's it. That is the key to handling conflicting meetings. See, I am running the webinar from my computer, right? 2 devices, and I'm running the meeting, the meeting on my phone. That it takes practice, right? Like I'm obviously I'm very adept at doing this, but I'm just showing you that this is basically what you have to do, and this is what I teach you in the course: how to set up your computers, how to set up your devices, what kind of excuses, what kind of things to say, how to be on the lookout. So let's continue. I kind of wanted it to coincide with secret number 2, but we're already in secret number 3, so it doesn't matter. Let's just continue with secret number 3. And so, like I said, any white-collar professional can successfully job stack as long as they have the correct mindset and system. And if your job can be done remotely, you can do job stacking. That's pretty much it. Yeah, so some people also think, maybe this is one of you. I don't know how to get started, right? And so I'm introducing to you here is the Fundamental Job Stacking online course. This is a course I developed after writing the book. It's kind of like the second second edition of the book. It has a lot more content. It carries a lot more subjects. It's an online course. You can watch the videos. You can listen to the audio. It can be a lot more engaging that way. So the Fundamental Job Stacking course is about helping you reliably make more money. It's about how to changing your mentality so that you have the right tools, you have the right approach when approaching having multiple jobs. Right? And I teach you how to do this just with your current resume and your current skills. Like, I'm not promoting anybody go learn how to code, change careers or anything. Like, you can do that if you want, if you think it'll make things easier, but you can do job stacking with your current resume and skills, and that's part of what I teach. Like I said, just reiterating the point, this works for a lot more people than just engineering. And if you're still wondering if doing this is unethical, I said that I was going to go deeper into why it's not unethical or that this will hurt employers. We're not looking to hurt employers. We're looking to just increment our income, and we're actually going to perform a satisfactory job for them. They're going to be happy with what we do. It's just that we're not, giving away all of our free time or all of our productivity trying to shine with a particular employer, but we're not hurting them. And the reason why it's ethical, why job stacking is ethical, it's simple, is the fact that we're not doing anything different that businesses already do. Like, they have multiple clients, and if a client wants exclusivity, they have to pay they have to pay for that exclusivity. It's not like you can go to Verizon, get a plan and then tell Verizon, like, well, now that I'm paying for your plan, I want you to not provide services to anybody else. You can only provide services to me. That's absurd, right? Like, if you wanted Verizon to only service you, you would have to buy them out. You would have to buy all their clients. You would have to compensate for all the business opportunities that they would be losing by servicing only you. And that's the way to compensate exclusivity. But employers don't do that. Employers just pay for our services and don't pay for our exclusivity, right? And so that itself, that on its own is what makes it ethical, right? And the fact that employers put in a contract or have a claim about, like, oh no, you should be working full time. But again, what does it mean to work full time, right? Like, you're not even providing full time amount of work, right? Like, you're happy with me working 3 hours a day. So what does that even mean to you? And also, you don't have a right. Like, you're not compensating. You're straight up not compensating something that you want to get. You want to get for free from me, right? Like, you're just expecting. You're just making a claim. So that, even if employers put it in a contract, the claim is empty. Like, they have no authority. They have no backing for that claim. It's just something that anybody can put anything in a contract, right? Like, it doesn't make it that the claim makes sense. The meeting's still going, by the way. That's why as soon as it's done, I'll just take my headphones off. And this is what I just said. Like, employers don't compensate us for exclusivity, and we won't be harming employers. So this is just reiterating, going over or reiterate. Oh my God, that word's so hard. Like, we're just going over the what I just said. And so now talking about the course, here's what you get. You will get complete lifetime access to the program, downloadable audio files for each lesson, and lifetime access to digital downloads, worksheets, and exercises that the course does have. And yeah, just this is what the program looks like. Module 1, it's 4 modules. So module 1, it's the breakdown of the foundations of job stacking, something kind of related, very related to Secret 1. This you'll fully understand the theoretical framework for job stacking. In module 2 is this is for your mental preparation, right? Because we do need a shift of mentality of framework on how to engage when we're doing job stacking. It's not just I'm just gonna get 2 jobs. Like it could work for some people. That's just like, I just get 2 jobs and that's it. For job stacking in particular, there's a framework. It's not just let's say techniques on how to manage multiple jobs. It's also a framework of how to handle any situation, right? Like how to engage, like what happens if you get fired, right? Like if you get fired for low performance, how do you react to that? What do you do? How to manage your feelings? This is what module 2 is all about. Module 3 is the technical module. This is where we get nitty gritty with empirical stuff, how to set up your office, what devices to use, how to handle actually like the conflicting meetings. This is that module. In module 4, this is once you're kind of like you're past the theory and the practice. We can talk about high level strategies. How to combine jobs. Like maybe you want to have a junior job with a more senior position, and that's what's optimal for you. Maybe you kind of want to try out getting a bunch of jobs at once and subcontracting them. That's something also businesses do. It's not unethical. They subcontract stuff all the time. As a matter of fact, this job where I have the meeting, it's like 3 levels of subcontracting down from the top client, right? So that happens all the time. Even businesses do it. And so module 4 is how to basically strategize about job stacking. So this is a little bit of testimonial. This is from the course. Phil Johnson, he's a data analytics manager. He purchased and took the course, and he had this feedback to give. He says that I especially like that he says that he particularly liked modules 1 and 2 because it helps deprogram some of the magical thinking, quote unquote, that people have. And so that's what I was saying. Like it's a shift. The modules 1 and 2 kind of shift your mentality. That's their purpose. And this is a very long feedback here that I'm not gonna read, but it's from George, again, product manager from Maryland. Data analytics, you could say, kind of is related to tech, but this guy is not. He's a product manager, right? And so he provided both feedbacks. Both testimonials are in the job stacking website. So if you're interested in reading the full thing, jobstacking.com, and they're there. So just briefly, what did it take for me to put all this together, to put the course together? Like I said in the beginning, I had to go through, figure out stuff, making mistakes, running experiments, writing it all down, basically figuring everything out. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to do what I did. You don't have to spend a year, 2 years experimenting, doing weird stuff, teasing, risking getting fired. I actually did get fired a couple times running experiments. You don't have to do any of that. You can just take my wisdom and learn from what I did. And so the regular price for the fundamental job stacking is $100. And do you think if you were able to if the course allow you to reliably make more money, would $100 be worth that to you? The doubling your income. If I could, if you could pay $100 to learn how to double your income, would that be a good investment? I think it would be. I think it's a tiny investment, but putting things in perspective, if if let's say you're 29, even if you start now, like at 29, even 6 to 12 months of 2 to 3 jobs, can be life changing, right? But here's the thing. You joined me in this webinar. You registered. You took the time to listen to everything I've said. So I'm going to give you, guys, and I'm going to activate it now. Hold on. hold on. Start offer. Here it is. For the next hour, and you should have gotten a notification about the offer going live. You're gonna get 50% off just because you joined me, just because you took the time to go through all of this. You can get the course, actually all the content except the coaching sessions in that I'm offering. So even the in-depth job stacking course, which includes coaching sessions, 3 coaching live coaching sessions with me, even all that is 50% off, right? But especially the fundamental job stacking, which is what I recommend to beginners, 50. So half off, right? And so for the next hour, right? And so with that, we can start the Q&A session. So if you guys have any questions, just put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A chat text box. Let's give a couple minutes so that some questions start. All right. So I think we have the first question. So when applying for job number 2, do you include job number 1 on your resume? Some people in the job stacking space say to never include your job 1 on your resume. This is difficult for me since I've been at job 1 for the last 4 years. So like I said, this is a good question. And think back to what I said about background checks. When you're going from 1 job to 2, when this is the first time you're just job stacking, it's all transparent. It's all as if you were just changing jobs. And what happens is that once you get the offer from job number 2, you don't quit job number 1. But everything else in between that, everything else in the process is just as if you were changing jobs. So there's no reason at that stage to hide your job number 1 or your main job, what we would call main job. You want to start hiding it when you go above 2 jobs, when you're or it's not the first time that you're going from 1 job to 2, right? Like when you've done it before, you kind of do want to hide your main job because you just as a layer of protection. It's nothing catastrophic necessarily that's going to happen, but you kind of want to protect your main job. But if it's the first time and you're just going from 1 job to 2, like I said, it's as if you were just changing jobs. So just treat it as normal. Just use your regular CV. And then you can decide, right? Like after you get job number 2, that's when you decide moving forward, do I want to hide job number 1 or, which one is my main job, right? Like when you go for the 3rd job, you want to protect your main job. But in the meantime, no, don't worry about it. So just to clarify that the advice they gave you was correct, but not in the context that you're talking about. So we got another question. How do you manage LinkedIn history? Which job do you list as your current role? So again, similar question. This is up to you. I always, so people are not looking out to debunk your life, right? Like people are not checking. All right. So the meeting's over. Just let me take this off. So people are not out to get you. People are not out checking he made this change. I've run experiments. I've changed my LinkedIn history a bunch of times, even changed roles. Like at one point when I was looking for a Scrum Master jobs, I run the experiment, like just completely changed my feed of LinkedIn or my history of LinkedIn jobs. All of them went from being, quality assurance, quality analyst to being Scrum Master, just to run the experiment, just to see. And nobody, like, no problem. I even ran the experiment that I messaged my, out of recruiter from a previous employer with my new profile, with my new role, and I got in deep into the recruitment process. Like they didn't realize that it was me or that I had changed anything. So don't worry about that too much. Just play around, safekeeping the public information about your main job, right? Like you don't necessarily want it to be out there, just as a layer of protection. Not because anything catastrophic is going to happen. It's just protection. It's just just being safe. Just being extra cautious. That's it. So don't worry about LinkedIn. I have a chapter on how to manage LinkedIn in the course, where I give more kind of like in-depth advice. Also, remember that I have a YouTube channel. I give kind of like advice also related to different topics. And I do have a video on LinkedIn and managing your profile. But that I is it clear? Do you guys still have more questions? Do you want to go over something else? Let's give a few. Let's wait to see if there's any more questions. All right. All right, we got another question coming in. Also very common. What are the best jobs for job stacking? I have content related to that on my YouTube channel, but here I'm just telling you that there's no best job. There's what there is things that you want to look for, right? So you want to look for three things. Number one, that the job itself. So hold on, before I get into that, let me explain why there's no clear answer of like what's the best job for job stacking. The reason is because it could even come down to your boss, right? Like your boss, having a good boss could, elevate an otherwise crappy job above abstract good jobs, right? So it could come down to many, like, let's say, on the ground factors. So there's no abstract answer like, yeah, just get this job. It's like, no, what you want to look out is for, like I said, like there's three things. Number one is that the job is easy for you to do. So that doesn't mean that the job is easy itself. Is that whatever you have experience, it just comes naturally to you. You want to be at a place where you're not suffering. Where you're not banging your head against the wall trying to figure out the task that you have to do. Number two is that it should be hard to track. Your boss should, ideally should not be able to just pull up a report and see all your productivity and see what you've been doing or not doing, right? Like you want to kind of depend, you want it to depend on you. Like you have to give the updates. You have to explain what you've been doing. If there's any blockers, if there's any delays, like you want it to be up to you. So that's number two. And number three is that ideally it should be easy for you to get more of those jobs, right? Like, so you're in a space where there's abundance, right? Like where you can just send your CV and you get another job. You don't have to get, to do job stacking, you don't need all three. You can do, with either, or even without any of the three, you could still pull off job stacking. It's just going to be harder, but it's still possible. But those are like the three qualifiers that make a job good for job stacking. As for the rest, like I said in the webinar, and secret number 3 doesn't have to be tech. Like I said, the tech only has cover in theory. We don't see that a lot anymore with all the layoffs that have been happening. But in theory, the advantage tech has was that it covered number 3. Like there's just a bunch of tech jobs and it's easy to get them. All right. Any other questions that you might be thinking about? Okay. All right. So why is having multiple devices? Why is having multiple devices? Just another question came in. Why is having multiple devices necessary? So it's not strictly necessary if you're a super organized, super disciplined person, and you can, let's say you're working on something from one employer and you have everything open on your computer, and you get a call from job number 2, and they want to get into something and you have to share your screen. If you're disciplined enough where you can close everything off and hide everything from the other jobs, that's great. You don't necessarily need more, multiple devices. It's just it's just precaution. It's just a security measure, so you don't have to be on the ball all the time. So you don't have to, any accident could happen, right? Like if all the jobs exist in their own universe where they're not touching them, there's no touching between the jobs, right? Like there's nothing shared. That's better, right? And also it prevents, if there's any tracking, right? Like if you have one of the employers is doing any kind of tracking, nothing weird is going to happen, or nothing weird will come up because it's its own universe. It's all work related. So we have another question. Do you go private on LinkedIn once you get the second job? No, like I said, there's no need to worry about LinkedIn. LinkedIn, nobody's trying to debunk your life. Nobody's following you. Nobody here's the thing, like, what you're doing, everything about your own situation. And we humans have the tendency to kind of like assume everybody else kind of knows what we're doing, what we're all about, what we're thinking. But that's, or that they really, we're the center of the universe in a sense. No, like most people are just they're not looking, they're not looking specifically at you. They're not trying to debunk your LinkedIn history. They're not trying to, you don't, unless you have a stalker or something, which most people don't, they're not going to be stalking you there. All right, another question. What mouse jiggler or device do you recommend? Hold on, I'm gonna do something here. All right, so just so it's more personal here. What mouse jiggler or device do you recommend to show as active or to beat tracking software? Yeah, so I have two. So I have this one. You can see it here, actually. This is software, right? So it's both a jiggler and it's both a jiggler and a clicker. So it does both. And I have another one that I it's kind of hard for me to show. My computers are all down here because it's all connected and it's all wires down there. But it's a mechanical keyboard. I'm sorry, not a mechanical keyboard. It's a mechanical mouse jiggler. But it's undetectable because it's mechanical. So there's like nothing, the only thing connected to the computer is the mouse itself. So that's the one I prefer. Especially I use it for my J1. So my J1 is a good example of how a boss can completely redefine, can completely recontextualize a job into making a good one. My J1 is super paranoid, super, they track everything. That I have like a million tracking software in my J1 computer. It's my main job. It's my favorite job. They're super paranoid, super, like they track everything, take screenshots every 10 minutes. They can shut down my computer remotely, just a bunch of stuff, right? But my boss is just like the best boss I've ever had. And so like he makes the job incredible. Like he makes the job be my main job because he's just great. He doesn't look at any other reports. He treats it as if it doesn't exist. Which, to be fair, a lot of employers kind of do that also. They just have it for monitor, like if anything goes wrong, they can go back and audit the tapes. Let's put it like that. But so I use the mechanical mouse jiggler on that computer because it's undetectable. So again, even when my boss is great, I do still take precautions. I have I can provide. On my Twitter, and in the course, I provide links to the things that I use. But if you're interested, I don't know if you follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Rolf Haltza. And everything's in the jobstacking.com website, all my social media. If you're interested, you can DM me. If you're already followed, you can DM me, or you can email me at rolfhaltza@jobstacking.com. You can use, I don't collect your data or do anything with your email, but so if just use a SOC account, use a fake account, but you can email me and I'll send you the links to the stuff that I use. Any other questions? Let's give it, we're almost at an hour here, so let's give it a few more minutes or one more minute. If there aren't any more questions, we can just drop for the day. And I want to thank you guys again. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And I hope I answered your questions. And again, remember that the offer for the half off on the fundamental job stacking is going to be what's the word? It's going to end. It's going to end in around an hour. All right. I don't see any more questions coming in. So if that's it, see you guys. Bye. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. Very good questions. Bye. Remember to follow me on social media. Remember to go to jobstacking.com to get the course. Remember to follow me on Twitter, Rolf Haltza, and also on YouTube. I'm Job Stacking on YouTube, Job Stacking channel. You'll know it's me because it has my face as the avatar. All right. See you guys.